So here is the logic in point and simple form. If we are willing to bet on future generations, if we are willing to say you are of value, and what we're going to build for you through you is already of value as appraised by a congressional bicameral vote and signed by the president as a value creation charter, a piece of legislation that is distinct in the sense that it does not carry with it a tax bill to the American citizen. Why? Because in the process of taking a general purpose company public, you would register what's known as an S1 filing, and for a follow-on it's an S4. But in an S1, you're basically presenting a case for the merit of future value creation that would be afforded by the underwriting of the capital to justify the recognition of the conversion of private equity into publicly tradable stock, hence the involvement of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So while investment banks do the processing of and oversee the audits and conduct their due diligence and help the management team perfect its MO, thus, in the IPO roadshow for say 3 weeks, Groundhog Day type presentation for the management team, a different city every day, and 10 presentations a day, give or take. And you get to the pricing moment where you basically have circled, as the term of art goes, circled up a certain number of dollars at a certain share price that reflects the best judgment of the underwriters and signed off by the SEC. So that is the process of taking a company public. And so it's just, given the variables of the market context when that night comes, where you price this and assess basically whether you have a viable IPO. That's December 6, 1997 for my US Web IPO. And that's sort of what it feels like today, but for a different set of appraisers, bankers, and underwriters. Okay. Now, what happens when that bell rings is that all the private equity that you held or hold in that illiquid, privately held company converts under the protocols of the IPO into publicly tradable stock, and that is exchangeable for dollars. So you may have just as well introduced new currency into circulation, because effectively you introduced new securities into circulation and reified them. They became real money, not handshake type money of private equity, which is basically subject to the whim and whimsy of unregulated private decisions, as it should be. But the introduction of a future value means that we're taking a collective, joint, enlightened and educated bet on the future of the value creation potential of that enterprise. Okay, and so the IPO provides the initial capital to fund the net negative cash flow that or losses that it takes to, should they be, or growth capital in general, to achieve the objectives of that value creation event. Now, if it's priced out 5, 10, 15, 20 years for the pegged ROI or IRR to be realized, well, that's just part of the plan. Now, with an IPSO that I'm bringing to the table here, what do I want to fund with it? Okay, and who are the underwriters? Well, this is what I'm proposing. Basically, is the envelope around this whole class of program itself. So I'm creating the congressional charter account at Treasury with the help of the Federal Reserve to create a reserve account that will be basically at the discretion of the legislated command of a charter that's voted into existence and gets to tap this fund rather than the American people. Broad scope to fund the first charters. Someone's got to do it, so I volunteered to do that. Now, so for every dollar that is aggregated and raised in my name from a year ago to time eternal ahead, basically, with the exemption of only the $216 million, only that exemption, because we've already paid the tax reduction fees on that, at least we believe we have, then for each dollar used or raised in this IPSO, which is rounding a major corner now, and Sweet Uplift is a mediocre contributor to what's happened since in terms of sponsorship. The 28 cents will remain discretionary under my name. 37 cents, which is the top tax bracket for ordinary income at this time, goes to the federal government to fund the government as proper we should as citizens. 5% as a state tax reserve. Utah State currently says that for ordinary income, not capital gains treatment, but ordinary income. And then what we have is 30% left. Okay, 20% I want to go in perpetuity to the congressional charter account. And I'll talk about the legislation that can introduce this and start this up, which is one of the core principles that I would like to bring as part of affirmative administration. And if we could do it earlier, the better. But this would be available soon. So 20% goes to that account, and we can talk about what the first charters are that I believe and would want to be funded with money that I raise. The insight into that is the last 10%. Many One Enterprise Bank, an entrepreneur's bank that would give a kickstart to a new career to each high school graduate, community college graduate, and university graduate in the United States. To give them a fast track. If they graduate at one of those three tiers, or say tier 1 high school and tier 2 if they proceed to community or university levels, then a second step or round 2 of funding, if you will. This is the way to scale up entrepreneurism across the United States, and to do so does not mean we have to tax it into existence. Why? Okay, because in every single damn case, at least these should be the criteria over which such applications are approved under the EDGE Act, as I propose it to be called, and I'll tell you about what that acronym means in a moment. But under the EDGE Act, the End Democracy's Gridlock Endowment, EDGE, giving America the edge of a kickstart to every high school grad, community college grad, and university grad, is a brilliant first charter for the tax-free legislation account for this Congress of the United States.